Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and in this video we're breaking down Squid Game. Season 3 closes out what's Netflix's most popular show of all time, and it's packed with Easter eggs, callbacks, a Cliff Richard song, and even lots of Marvel references.
Like Wonder Woman?
That's actually a DC superhero, but anyways.
Yeah. So let's jump in and just break it all down. Okay, so the season starts off confirming a theory that we had last time. That was that Kang was the god who shot 246 and she aimed so it wouldn't be in a vital area. We also see that suspicions immediately on Captain Park and that his previous victims washed up on the shore. Slowly, the cracks start to show in his story and he's found now because of Choi's suspicions. We also see the aftermath of Gi-hun's revolution. You might have missed it, but we discover that 8 managers and 27 soldiers have been killed. We don't learn their names and it continues the theme of reducing everyone to a number. That's not only seen in the name badges, but also how the characters are treated. Captain Park only ever calls the man he killed the drone operator, and there's a clear detachment from humanity in a lot of these different characters. We then see Gi-hun return to the quarters in a coffin. It's placed in between the pink and blue lines, and these colours are used to indicate which side that you're on. Blue means that you want to continue, while red indicates you want to quit. Gi-hun tried to rebel, essentially giving us a third choice. With the coffin being placed between these two colours, it symbolises his dream being dead. Now, being in a coffin, but still alive, Gi-hun's essentially in purgatory. Hell is continuing the games, whereas heaven is quitting. We see him in this neutral state until he finally has something worth fighting for. Right from the off, Gi-hun feels like a complete failure who's resigned to apathy. He's sick of seeing people vote against their own best interests and basically getting a bit political. Is Gi-hun gonna have to choke a bitch? In the basement, we then watch as Kang, aka Number 11, lies away to the organ harvesting, bragging about how they tear people apart and take everything. It's a metaphor for those in power. 11 then ends up killing the other guards, leaving only the surgeon alive. In the dorm, we might also notice the food's getting worse as well. Whereas they'd had proper meals and lunch boxes in the past, they're now given nothing but potatoes. This felt like the food of the peasants during a revolution, and ultimately being starved has caused many to rise up. As they go back up the stairs, we also see that they've hanged some of the rebels. Moves like this are often used to quell rebellions and have been played upon in films, books and TV shows. See Dark Knight Rises. The surgeon saves 246 through a blood transfusion, which 11 can provide due to being a universal donor. With the players, we then see his hide and seek set up. You might notice that both a keyhole and knife-shaped symbols are on the walls, with these hinting towards what's going to come. It's pretty much a fight-or-flight game that somewhat plays off the revolution. The uprising was split into 2 groups, with those who stormed ahead on the attack while the others hid away. You might notice the players here are also already split up into the sides they chose as part of their rebellion. However, some swap places, including 007 and his mother. Ultimately, this was done so the pair can make it out, but he dies, and though she survives, she takes her own life. Now, the entire premise is built around the idea of backstabbing, and this is something we see literally throughout. Due to the art on the wall, you could also see the blade as looking like the dangling sword of Damocles. Meanwhile, on the boat, Choi thinks the captain is fishy. I said fishy! I did wonder if the role of being a fisherman was because fishermen use bait and reel in their prey. Bait appears a certain way, like a nice little treat, but ultimately it's a trick to catch the fish. Hence the term that's bait, reeling someone in, and so on and so on. You know what, mate, Captain Park seems like a nice guy, reels people in to trust him, but he's a bad person. I do feel like that may be why his job role was chosen though, as they do lots of things like that in the show. Either way, Choi's suspicions are brushed to the side and we learn that the VIPs have arrived. We see them as part of the cleanup crew in episode 3, which is the ultimate form of poverty tourism. During the swap, we also see 333 take the place of his child's mother in 222. They swap from red to blue, with it further playing off these colours. These were prominent in all the games of Jackie, and it also feels like it's playing off the Matrix. Blue and red pills there, they offered the chance to either escape the simulated reality or remain in the dream. Much like how players can escape the prison or remain in the rat race. Now, this video is sponsored by Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Zbiotics pre-alcohol is an absolute game changer after a night out, and it'll have you back on your feet feeling refreshed and rested. You see, pre-alcohol basically breaks down the toxic byproduct of alcohol while you drink and sleep. Now, whenever we get asked to do these kind of ads, I'm always like sent loads of sciencey stuff to talk about, so I can explain how the product works. I'm not going to do that though, yeah? Instead, I'm going to tell you, I believe in this product so much that even when they weren't sponsoring me, I was buying the boxes to help feel my best. Even though they send me stuff for the ads, I have my own box of bottles, and yeah, I completely swear by this product, and I'm actually gutted if I forget to back it, because I'll wake up feeling terrible and I'll be like, Zbiotics could have saved today and now it's ruined. I think you guys are going to love it too though, and all you have to do to get a 15% discount is click my link in the description below. The discount will be applied automatically when you click my link, so you'll get 15% off just by clicking that. And if you're not satisfied, they offer a 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked. Just remember to make Zbiotics pre-alcohol probiotic your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Thanks. Episode 2 is entitled The Starry Night. It's named after the iconic Van Gogh painting of the same name. This was later referenced in the song Starry Starry Night by Don McLean. The song was about Vincent's choice to take his own life and the legacy he left behind. It also deals with what was going through his head and how he felt like a failure. His art would go on to be loved by billions, and it completely changed the world. However, he never got to see this. I did wonder if this feeling was a comment on how Gi-hun's feeling at the moment, or even if it's playing on 007's mother's choice to end it all for him to be shaking out his apathy. The hide-and-seek game also takes place in a fake street complete with painted stars matching the name, but it has a darker meaning. Van Gogh was inspired by the view from his cell in an asylum. So just like the painter, the players are stuck in a horrible place while looking at the night sky, albeit the contestants are just seeing a fake one. It also feels like they do something similar with the MC Escher style staircases, as we have a giant pit in the middle that's lined with doorways. I did wonder if Gi-hun also predicts what happens at the end as he goes to this location twice to hunt down the traitor. The first time appears almost like a vision, as we have the traitor seemingly going to the other side on another floor at an incredible speed. Like if he could make his way through the maze that fast, he's out there in seconds. So I did wonder if that was indeed like a vision of the future, or maybe the ending is just a play on deja vu. The game also feels quite similar to the marble game. That's all players enter an arena set in a pretend suburb in episode 6 of season 1. While that took place at what looked like the day or possibly sunset, here are the games in this false nighttime setting. There we saw houses in an elaborate set, but here it's just drawings of homes. The walls have graffiti scrawled on them as well, with one saying, "Beware of people." This is obviously foreshadowing the many betrayals that take place in the episode. Namgyu then takes one of the pills and says, "Let's wipe out half the universe." This calls back to Thanos from season 2 and how the MCU Thanos did the same thing. As well as this game saw players split into 2 equal teams. So with that in mind, half of the game or universe could be getting wiped out. He also says, don't go asking for a pill later, foreshadowing how he won't be able to give him one as 125 steals them. When he finds it, we see there's only one blue and pink pill left. We see him take one, which turns out to be the pinky red one, as he has the blue one in episode 3. So he subconsciously takes the same colour pill as the team he's on. We also have player 44, who started her own little cult within the games. She says she sees as dead people, but she's talking crap. However, someone who does get visions is 125, as he goes crazy and starts seeing people from the crew, like Thanos shows up. He gets flashes of them when he kills the shaman, and she dies due to her own prediction. Sort of. This path eventually leads to his death as well, and yeah, it's just all playing together quite nicely. Now we watch as she uses lizard mode and gets guidance from the spirits, but yeah, absolutely full of it, mate. Talking shit, never hit the thumbs up or something. By lying, she misleads everyone, they all get killed, and yeah, I did wonder if it was kind of a comment on, well, the people behind the show being like, the psychic thing's a load of bullshit. One touch I love though is that she tells them the right path is the way to the exit. When the players were split up into their teams, on the left were the blues and the right were the reds. So going right leads them into the red team. In the end though, we see how she's a fraud as she makes arrows in players' blood to get back to the exit. Betrayed by 100, she also somewhat predicts his death as well. She says how he will suffer and they will break his skull. Bit of a reach here, but it foreshadows his death from the high altitude in episode 5. She also kind of predicted Gi-hun's return from his indifferent state when they cross paths. She says that if he kills the traitor, his karma will be wiped, which it kind of is, as he finally gets a purpose by protecting the baby. On the exit door, we also see loads of blood red handprints, which look like something that kids have made. We also saw a lot of handprints make butterflies elsewhere in the episode, but the exit door ones have a double meaning. It makes it look like people died while reaching the door. Considering you need one of each key shape as well, it makes sense lots of people have died there banging on the door. And we do see multiple people die in that room, with one being killed by Cho Hyun-ju. I did actually get that right off the bat. Fucking amazing. We saw in season 2 as she was stopped from going back to the rebellion. Hyun-ju was also told, "You can't die like this," so she was stopped from possibly dying by the person she actually ended up saving. Each of those shapes on the door locks, I'm sure you noticed as well, but just in case you didn't, circle, square and triangle. These symbols are everywhere, such as the recruiter's card, on a sign in the skipping game, and on the workers' masks. But ultimately, in the end, they make up the court used to play the game of Squid. Now, a twist that I love on the game is that you also need to work together with 2 other players to get out of there. This is pretty unlikely, as these are the players who refused to join the revolution. They wanted to stay out of the danger and not work together, but now they have to unite. Another thing I thought of is that the witch leaving the blood breadcrumbs might be playing up Hansel and Gretel. That story also featured a witch as well, and basically, yeah, following breadcrumbs like kind of what she's doing here. The song playing as they enter the exit room is also Congratulations by Cliff Richard. It's embedded in my brain from the family trips to Frankie and Betty's. Also in the episode, 007 dies from hesitating. This plays nicely off the kill earlier, as he also hesitated and yeah, basically got him killed both times. He didn't seem like he was able to kill 222, and this eventually led to him being killed by his mother. Stabbed with a hairpin, she used it earlier to cut the baby's umbilical cord and again to kill her son. So a new life is born with it, while one has been snuffed out with it. This was hinted at as he asked her earlier if she could really kill someone with it, as he refers to the dagger. She was originally on the red team, but then swapped sides. So her son was right, she didn't kill someone with the knife, but did use her hairpin. It's also interesting that despite swapping sides, she still had to kill someone. So my guy is finally dead, a real 007. 0 bitches, 0 kills, 7 sins. Look, the jokes, they're not gonna ever be good. They're never gonna be good. Lastly, one of the houses we see on the wall actually has the colours that Thanos had in his nails and pills. The red, blue, pink and yellow are also on the stairs that lead to each game. Episode 3 then begins with the VIPs arriving. We see how sick and twisted they are from the off, and it evolves things from those who've been in power before. Season 1 had Ilnam enter the games, and he played as part of the teams. Season 2 had the frontman taking part, and now Season 3 has the VIPs in cleanup. I do wonder if the American spin-off will actually have them taking on a larger role. VIPs may even pay to be part of the scenarios and potentially build off Ilnam's choice. They also compare it to Hunting and even mention their great chairman. Titled It's Not Your Fault, we get one of the best episodes in the series history. CGI Twilight baby and all. I loved how in this entry the frontman was also able to predict the outcome of the votes, as he knows what's going through the players' heads. Having been a player himself, he's able to deduce most of their actions, except for with Gi-hun, who does something he didn't. Gi-hun at this point is still apathetic though, but the old woman begs him to look after the baby. She discusses how she had to save her son's life before, and now she's killed him, it's undone all the good there. Now she has to make good on it by having Jun-hee's child survive. The baby was born into this game with no choice, even when it comes to the vote. It's very much a comment on society and how children's actions are often affected negatively by adults, even though they get no say in democratic affairs. Which, look, I'm not advocating for kids to vote, yeah, but I think the show's just examining everything and discussing how things are. I think another read on it is that children, you know, they don't have any choice over their situation. It's purely down to what their parents do, if they're born in poverty or not, and so on and so forth. Beyond being lucky, you know, you have no say in what happens to you and where you start off. It's a TV show analysis right there. But it does kind of comment on what we've seen in the other characters. Number 11 was born under an oppressive regime and she had to do what she had to escape. She has regret over this, but it highlights how people have no choice of where or when they start the game at. Either way, with her son dead, she's got no reason to survive and does one final act to make Gi-hun snap out of it. She sees Gi-hun as blaming himself because That's what good people do, opposed to bad people who feel no guilt. Things become like a lone wolf in cub, and he finally steps up to be a protector. It reminded me a lot of St. Christopher, and he's trying to right the wrongs of leaving his daughter to play in the games. The idea of giving a parent to help this daughter is also reflected in number 11. Her aiding 246 is so he can be back with his child, as she'll definitely die without him. She wants to escape, akin to how she fled from North Korea. She's once more fleeing a dictatorship and is even under an officer who also fled from the country. We then see as Jun-ho returns to the cliff that his brother shot him at. Choi then goes to Park's house, and I love how they had triangles and circles on the glass. It's very subtle and a different style to those in the game, but visually it feels like it's kind of playing upon it. Noticing a photo of Park and the recruiter, it's clear he's connected to the games. The recruiter, two real people in, so again I felt that fishing metaphor was very apt. Look mate, yeah, I just recently rewatched Black Bag and they do it a lot there. We also have one with the front man as well, but Choi doesn't recognise him due to never meeting him. Choi then ends up killing Park's dog, and I would have went John Wick, yeah, but he doesn't really seem that arsed. I think it shows how heartless you have to be part of the organisation, as people just have to look over their pets, family and friends in order to win. Ilnam, of course, discussed how, he never had a family or anything, he's just completely detached from everything, and this lack of humanity is what made him so good at running them. In the doghouse, Choi then finds a guard suit with a cash in its own pot like the winnings in the game. Now back at the games, we finally come full circle from the post-credit scene in Season 2. We get to meet Chol-soo. In case you don't know, he's Young-hee's boyfriend, and he featured in the Korean textbooks from the 70s and 80s. We also see more of the VIPs throughout these sections, with them even getting a meal. They're served in a similar way to the Last Supper, and talk about trophy hunting in Africa. Getting pleasure from killing basically paints out the kind of people they are. They're ruthless, and even want to have the baby in the game as part of the entertainment. We also see as Gi-hun forfeits his vote again. I did wonder if this was playing on the political apathy that often hits a lot of people. No matter who's in charge, we seem to be hit with recessions all the time, wars and social injustices, and thus a large group of people hit a point where they think voting's completely pointless. Gi-hun also just seems to be sick of the turkeys voting for Christmas and continuing a game that only leads to death. We also see as the soldiers are given much better food than the contestants. They're still part of a system that values and robs them of their identity, but because they have slightly more power, they see things as not being as bad as they could be, and thus they want to hold on to that. The VIPs are the ones who control it all, and you might even notice they're using a person as some furniture. 222's ankle is also severely messed up, and the bird guy bets on her as he got drunk and pressed the wrong number. He does mention though that God created mothers, as he couldn't be everywhere at once, and there is the feeling that the baby could have a guardian angel, which later comes in the form of Gi-hun. He's helping a child here, just like he helped Se-byuk's brother last time. The VIPs then vote to put the baby in the game, and they mention those Marvel and DC superheroes. We of course had Thanos last time, and he later appears as a cameo during a drug-fueled hallucination. Ultimately, this ends with the drug addict dying due to there being no pills in the necklace. This could also be a metaphor for chasing that high, and how eventually, if you're unable to break the addiction, it can often lead to death. There's also a circle, triangle, and square over the doorway. The game then ends with 96 getting to the other side, and he pushes the players off the edge, just like the first season. And that takes us into episode 4, which is titled 222. This is due to not only the player dying, but her child inheriting the number. 333 tries to help her, but Gi-hun's unable to get her back, which is another thing that makes him feel guilty. She jumps to take Gi-hun's choice to go back and save her, which is kind of akin to the old woman. She even says that she'll protect the baby at all costs, and knows that Gi-hun will do that better than her. Death is rampant throughout the episode, and we see as Park's killed as well. But players manage to make it through, and we get another Last Supper. Even the baby is involved. I don't know if it was intentional as well, but the crib also felt akin to the coffins. The baby doesn't get a tux though, but they do get a very fancy bottle warmer. The clique then start to plot and plan away and want to stick together. However, they don't realise that 333's the dad. The VIPs want to throw the baby into the game, and this highlights generational debt. Things like medical bills and so on can often be passed on to children, and it pushes them further down than their parents. However, it also plays off generational wealth as well. 100 talks about how the kid could be born rich if it wins, and even discusses giving the prize money to their kids if they die. Finally, Gi-hun breaks out his apathy and then votes to leave. The baby doesn't get a choice though, again potentially playing off how kids don't get a say in democracy. Gi-hun is then called to the frontman. You might notice that he sits in a luxurious leather chair, whereas Gi-hun's resigned to a standard wooden one. The frontman's basically offering him a spot and also offers him a similar choice that he had. As we learn, the frontman slit the other players' throats while they slept. It shows how he was so callous last season and able to betray those he was close to. He says that the game can't be played with two people, and as we learn, it involves pushing someone off the edge in each round. So Gi-hun is given the knife and he returns. You might also notice around the dorms that the writing says Hodi mihi krastibi. Hodi mihi krastibi. Hodi mazi krisi. Hodi mihi krastibi. This is actually Latin for today me, tomorrow you. Has been theorized that this is in relation to the events of the game with it discussing death. For example, due to the amount that happens, it's likely you will die today and the following players may die tomorrow. It could also mean that today you are rich, but tomorrow it could be someone else if you lose the winnings by dying. The share price increases as those die, and Gi-hun went into the game already being rich. So if he'd lost this, then others could have got the winnings and it would be them instead of him. At the police station, we also learn more about Captain Park. He was in trouble 10 years prior for illegal gambling, and that happened in the year the frontman won the games. We saw a file for him in season 1, and we sort of get a flip on that with Kang. Whereas Jun-ho was breaking in to discover the truth, we see she's trying to break out. However, she has to go back. Coming across the files, we later learn that there's another copy of the father and his daughter. That takes us into episode 5, and the title here is just the game symbols, showing that this is indeed the Squid Game. We open with the flashback of the frontman killing his opponents in the past. He won the game by eliminating everyone and basically getting a shortcut and cheating his way to the end. Gi-hun refuses to do this though, as he wants to play the game fairly. He's tried to cheat before with his rebellion, which resulted in the death of his friend. Now what this does is mark how the two are very different at their core. Gi-hun still has faith in people, whereas In-ho doesn't. Il-nam must have thought the frontman was similar to him though, which is why he offered him the chance with the dagger. Also, I wonder if the person he killed in the past was player 129 who Jun-ho saw in season 1. This flashback is quite telling though. It's the opposite of how he was in the games in season 2. He was all about fairness, but actually survived by cheating. Also like how we see Gi-hun soothe 222's baby and not the father doing it. This isn't really an Easter egg, but who was doing the night feeds? Breaking into her boss's room, Kang then sees a computer with a login screen. I love how even that has symbols on it. If these games get exposed, yeah, they can't really get mad as they've pretty much put their name on everything. We then see the players walking up the stairs. As they go up, you might notice the bullet holes from season 2 are still there, which was a neat little touch. On 246 record, we can also see that he went to art school, worked at an art academy, and then at the theme park. As well as this, the black security camera looks a lot like HAL from 2001: A Space Odyssey. That machine ran everything on the ship, but it was eventually overthrown by the passengers. Luckily, our girl defeats her old boss. Before dying though, he does explain why he was working on the organ harvesting scheme in the first place. It turns out that a loved one needed a kidney and he just couldn't afford it. This makes him kindred spirits with the frontman, and it's likely why the frontman chose him to be his successor. As we know, the frontman's wife needed a new liver and he got himself fired from the police trying to get one. As such, it led to him entering and then winning the games. He also actually gave a kidney to his brother earlier in his life, which is kind of playing off this notion. On to the final game, the VIPs then overlook the arena just like they did in season 1. The arena here is a giant version of each one of the game's symbols, whereas the first season had a simple court. That showdown pitted brother against brother. A big part of the show as well is of course the frontman and the relationship with his brother, which is nicely ties into that. Did make me laugh as well how there's a huge sign that says safety first. I wonder if this is like inspired by a construction site. Now while the first season finale was a kids game, this is sort of an adult version based around working. It's a dangerous game and maybe a reference to capitalism leading to worksite deaths. We also have player 125 who is fully pranged out now and is proper tripping balls. He's deep in withdrawal and seeing things such as his former tormentors. It shows how money and capitalism can lead to anyone becoming a drug addict. He was peer pressured by people's ghosts in his head and it ultimately ruined him. The main guys then decide to vote, but it's funny as they're all simply pretending to make this seem real. It's not a real vote in the end, which could be playing off how people just say what's the point in voting? It's all pointless anyway. They act slick though and come to their solution trying to trick 456, 222 and 125. 333 pushes 125 off and is then praised by 100. He says how he's got a good head on him, but later when 333 joins Gi-hun, he says how he hates the money-hungry youth. This is a nod to the divide between boomers and the younger generations. We then see our girl Kang try to reach the archives. Firstly though, before that goes down, we get one of the creepiest shots of the season. We see a life-size model of Eelnam in his game outfit as well as the VIP owl mask. It's absolute nightmare fuel and very, very Severance-like. Jun-ho actually found the suit and owl mask, but with Eelnam now dead, he's with his other outfit. Either way though, she finally reaches the archives room just like how Jun-ho did. In fact, she follows the same path as him, sneaking in there almost the same way. We then see 333 come up with an idea to separate the baby from 456, clearly trying to somehow save his child and also survive the games. We then get a super meta moment as he reveals he's the baby's father. Reminds me of a lot of the Greek chorus who will comment on moments in a play. The VIPs then say how the idea of bringing back 456 was the best idea of all, and I swear the frontman looks directly at the camera. Considering the amount of comic book references, a Deadpool fourth wall break would not be surprising. Finally though, that dickhead player 100's killed, and we see his body and the lots that he was holding. To me it looks like they're actually the same length, so there was no actual shorter one despite him saying that earlier. So again, it was him just being slimy and tricking his way through. He also tried to play rock, paper, scissors. This is of course the same game that the recruiter made Choi play. It's a kid's game as well, which also fits in the theme of each game being a childhood pastime. In the end though, all the players that die do this because they wouldn't help the future generation. You see kids, I believe that children are our future. Lead them well, help them see the way wherever the lyrics are. And just show them all the beauty they possess inside, which I think is what Gi-hun's doing. One touch I love though is how a lot of them say they have wives and kids and basically beg not to be killed. As we've seen, the game ruins families. One brother runs the game while another wants to stop him, a mother and son were killed, and a baby's mother was also eliminated. Now the episode is titled Humans Are, and it plays into a theme throughout the series. There was one side that believed humans are horses and something you can gamble and bet on. There are some that simply viewed them as animals, with the higher-ups using them for sport. This came full circle from the first episode, as Gi-hun was seen gambling on horses. The question is, what humans are though? And I love that this title has an ellipsis. Throughout it asks whether we're out for our own ends, or willing to sacrifice things for the future. In the end, Gi-hun steps up by stepping down and throwing himself off the Squid Game so that the baby can live. Where we begin though is with Jun-ho discovering 246 and then infiltrating the island. He sees his brother at the end in the game itself, and the divide is really nice here. The frontman stands on the column separate from him while he's up as an onlooker, unable to control what's going on. In the game itself, 333 turns against 456 and tries to kill him as he makes his way across the bridge. It's very similar to the situation in Jump Rope, which also saw the death of the child's mother. While this is going on, 11 goes into the file room and not only burns 246's file, but also her own. Pulling this out, we see the full extent of what a regime like the one she's currently undertook from her. Her husband was executed and her child is thought dead. Going up to the front man's room, she sits in his chair and watches the games playing out. Gi-hun beats 333 and decides to throw himself off the edge to save the child. He's now secured them a safe future and lived up to his promise. Like the old woman, he knew that he had to make a decision to save the baby, and ultimately it continues that notion. Both died, and 222 also did a similar thing to secure the child's future. I do also wonder, in an alternate timeline, if 333 beat Gi-hun, what his choice would have been. But yeah, when he's dangling the kid over the edge in the first place, it doesn't look good. Ultimately though, that closes out Gi-hun's arc, in which he's gone from a self-centered person to someone willing to give it all up to save others. It's a big moment that leaves the VIP stunned into silence, and 11 decides to take her finger off the trigger. With the Coast Guard closing in and the frontman even potentially being inspired by Gi-hun, the self-destruct's then set. Confronted by his brother, he leaves with the baby, and we cut to 6 months later. Here we see 11 visiting 246 and getting drawn by him. Though he doesn't know exactly who she is, he knows there's something familiar, and ultimately her choices led to his daughter being saved. This good karma is then repaid when she discovers that her own daughter's alive and well in China. 222 is then left in Jun-ho's care with the golden credit cards returning. Beyond this, Choi's now got Gi-hun's hotel, and we see as 11 goes out to the airport. This is where Sae-byeok's brother is reunited with his family, which brings things full circle from season 1. Beyond that, we also have 11 getting a call before boarding a flight, akin to how Gi-hun got one in season 1. The frontman delivers her a box with his tracksuit and also his winnings. Upon heading out into LA though, he notices a recruiter playing Jackie against someone in an alleyway. Played by none other than Cate Blanchett, it teases some massive things for future spin-offs. That closes out Squid Game Season 3 though, and I hope you've had a great time watching the video, and make sure you subscribed as we'll be back with a video discussing what we know about the spin-off when we have a bit more information. Please drop a like on the video though, and also leave a comment with your thoughts below. If you want to follow us on Instagram, then make sure you check us out at Heavy Spoilers, and if you want to support us even more, please become a member. If you click the join button, you'll get at least one breakdown a week before anyone else for just 99 cents a month. Huge thank you to everyone who's done that, and if you want to go the extra mile and get some merch, we've got our Game Over, because to say Game Over in the game, we've got a Game Over Alien shirt and our Predator one as well. So 3 shirts on the store, 20% off if you buy 3. Anyway, great sales there. Surprised you're not rushing to it right now, but huge thank you for all you guys' support. Now, if you want something else to watch, you've got our ending explained on screen right now, in which we go into all our thoughts on the series. We also discuss what we took from the ending, get a bit more analytical, and definitely head over there right after this. With that out of the way though, thank you for sitting through this video. I've been your host Paul, you've been the best, I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.